I just want to welcome you to the Unitarian Universalist Church in Eugene. My name is Jean DeVenny, and my pronouns are she and her. I am this morning's worship associate. My pronouns are she and her. We gather in worship to find meaning and to live more deeply. Worship creates connections within, among, and beyond us, calling us to our better selves, calling us to live with wisdom and compassion. So whomever you are, whomever you love, whatever your image of the holy, we are glad you're here. If today is your first time with us, we'd love to get to know you. Right after the service, you're invited to our welcoming room, which is located at the south entrance through those double doors. And if you're online right now, the link to our visitor form is being dropped into the chat. You may have noticed that we don't have a paper order of service, but you can use your phone to access a copy by scanning the QR codes that are scattered throughout the building. There you'll find the names of authors and composers that are being used in the service today. You'll find the text to our choir anthems and resources that are used in our service. So now I'd like us to take a few minutes to greet our neighbors, especially those we don't know yet. So make it a point to talk to somebody you haven't yet met.
I had to find the bell.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I invite Simon up to like the child with us. I got it. We like this challenge with words from Albert Schweitzer. At times, our own light goes out. But uh, and is rekindled by a spark from another person. Each of us has cause to think with deep gratitude of those who lit the flame within us.
Let us say our mission statement now together. Empowered by love, we transform ourselves and serve the world. So, my name is Tina DeYoe. I use she, her pronouns. And today is Stewardship Sunday. Woo! I know y'all are so excited. All of you here are indeed stewards of this community. So you look after this community and one another. We are here today to celebrate and give thanks for the many gifts that you all give to this community. We come together today inspired to continue to give from our hearts in order to transform the world around us. In a spirit of gratitude and joy, let us worship together this morning.
All right, good morning again. I am here to invite children, youth of all ages. If you would like to come up and hear a story or maybe participate a little bit in a story, come on up and join us. I am assisted in the story today by Tina and Eugene, otherwise known as Jesus. We're using our imaginations today. This morning's story is called The Feeding of the 5,000. It can be found in the Bible, which is the sacred book for Christians. And I'm going to need a little bit of help this morning. Could you folks who are sitting on the floor here, could you all be disciples for me? Do you think you could do that? Great. Thank you so much. We got our disciples. We'll tell you a bit more what that means in a bit. And could you all, everyone that's still sitting back there, be the crowd? Yeah. You're excited. You've heard about this new guy who has lots to say and teach. You just want to hear him and be close. So you heard a little rumor that he's in town, so you couldn't help it. You came to see what you could see. All right. So now we can start with our story. The feeding of the 5,000. So do any of you recognize the man in the picture behind me? Or that guy? Okay. Well, long time ago, there was a man named Jesus. He lived and taught and healed and preached in the lands that we call Israel and Palestine today. Jesus was a great teacher and a leader. He taught about helping the poor and the sick, forgiving people who make mistakes, and taking care of each other in community. Lots of people followed him and wanted to learn from him and his leadership. This would be similar to how people followed leaders like Martin Luther King Jr. Jesus taught people to love everyone. So one day, Jesus here was out praying by himself, and a large group of people, over 5,000 people, heard of Jesus' location, decided to follow him because they were so excited to hear about his teachings. Oh, so excited! When he turned around and saw the group of people, he taught, he preached, and healed those who needed it. The day went on, and it became very late. Some of Jesus' followers, called disciples, saw that it was getting late and people needed food.
Hey, Jesus, it's getting late, and these people really need to eat. Should we send them in town to eat?
Don't send them away.
But we don't have enough food for all of them.
What food do we have here?
Well, I don't know. Are you guys, come on, bring your food.
Oh, look.
Oh, wow. These children brought their loaves and fishes, 5 loaves and 2 fishes. So it's really nice of them to share this food, but it's not nearly enough to feed this huge crowd of people.
Well, now, wait just a second. Everyone, you will be fed. Please gather in groups and sit, and we will bring you food. But first,
the disciples gathered the bread and fish and gave it to Jesus to bless.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
so now let's bless this food. God of many names, we bless and give thanks for this food that we have been given today. We're grateful to these children and for the food that they have brought us, and may it bring us strength to live out your message of love for everyone. Amen. Now, help yourselves to as much as you want.
Okay, we're gonna pretend. So I need disciples to offer this to everybody in the crowd, but we're pretending.
Jesus
Get the
gave
food after. We have lots of bread.
Jesus
Okay,
gave each of the disciples some of the bread and fish to share with the multitudes of people.
Bring it back here.
The people enjoyed as much of the fish and bread as they wished.
Bring it back
More
here.
than 5,000 people were in the crowd, and they were all able to eat.
Take your loaf. And your
No
fishes
one
and
went
put 'em in here.
hungry.
Okay, put them in here. Yeah, carry some more.
How much do you have?
We started out with 5, and now we have 12 baskets of bread and fish, and everybody has been fed.
How did this happen? Where did all this extra food come from? What do you guys all think? I heard someone say a miracle. Does anyone have another idea? Adeline, what do you think?
I think the people were giving food back.
You think the people were giving food back?
Bring it over here.
Like maybe some folks in the crowd also had food and they decided to share? Sometimes when one person shares their food or money or toys or talents with other people, that leads to those people wanting to share their things too. This might be exactly what happened that day, that Jesus and the disciples and the boy fed over 5,000 people from 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish. Other people might have shared their food with everyone too. As they say, sharing is caring.
questions for you all about this story, then y'all can help too. So do any of you know what the word generosity means? What do you think?
Yeah, generosity means that like people give instead of get.
Ah,
They be very, very nice to people
yes.
and give things to people.
Yeah, give things to people, are very nice to people. Yes.
I know what it meant, but I forgot.
You forgot. Yeah. And what did you say?
I know what it means to care for others.
Care for others, right? Yes, you guys are totally correct on what generosity is. So sometimes, yeah, we call that acts of kindness, right, towards others in our community. So raise your hand if you think the boy who gave, or the kids who gave their 5 loaves and 2 fishes were generous. Yeah, you think so? Awesome. So what are some generous things you could do in your life? What do you think? Any ideas? You got an idea?
When you pass the basket around, instead of giving like $5, maybe 10.
You could give 10. You could give more. Yes, exactly. That's very generous, right? Yes, I agree. Does anyone else have other ideas of how to be generous? Yeah.
If you saw someone who was hungry and they didn't have anything to eat, you could always offer something that you had.
Yeah, so if you saw someone hungry that needed food, you could offer the food you have. Yes, exactly.
Do we get to eat the food?
So the food, yes, you will get to eat after the service. So, yes, we are sharing our generosity. And one more response, yeah.
Yeah, we get to eat by giving like Girl Scout cookies more boxes if they love them.
Oh, you could give more Girl Scout cookies to someone who loved the Girl Scout cookies. Yes, I love Girl Scout cookies. So, when we are generous, oh, you have one more? Okay.
I guess that I think that it was kind of a bit of a play that you did.
It was. You are correct. Yes, you are correct. So when we're generous and do acts of kindness for others, those acts of kindness multiply, right? We saw how that multiplied with the extra baskets in the story, right? So, and if someone gives you a gift, do you feel like you want to give them a gift back sometimes? Yeah, okay. And if someone gives you a hug, do you feel like you might want to give them a hug back?
Yeah.
Maybe sometimes. So the leader and teacher Jesus reminds us that when we give from our heart, right, that gift will multiply 5 times, 10 times, 100 times. So I have a homework assignment for y'all this morning. This is kind of fun. So you are going to get a heart and a dollar this morning, and you're going to take this dollar home and do something good for someone else with this dollar, to be generous to that person or people, okay? So you could put it in charity, you could put it in the offering plate if you want, you could put it, give it to somebody who needs $1. Yeah, what do you think?
Do we get to buy something at the dollar store, or should I say the $1.25 store?
$1.25, right? So you could buy something there and give it to somebody, right? So this, I want you to take this home and then write on this heart what you did for somebody else with this dollar. Or draw a picture, yes, thank you. And we're gonna have a big heart in here at the Generous Potluck on Saturday, so you can put your heart up on that heart and see how your gifts will multiply, okay? So you can do that on Saturday if you come, or next Sunday, all right? So we'll pass these hearts and dollars out, and so go and do something good for somebody. There you go.
Next Sunday is my birthday.
So now we will go into our time of prayer and meditation. So at any point during this service, you can write your joys and sorrows in our book, light a candle, or place a stone in the water over at the table in the corner at the south end there. And those joining from home can write prayers of joy and sorrow in the Zoom chat, which will be open until the start of the sermon. And during the week, anyone can go to our pastoral care portal on our website, where you can let our ministers know you need some support. And I just wanted to lift up today, Nisco Junkins will be having surgery tomorrow to remove her gallbladder. So we will keep Nisco in our thoughts and prayers as she goes in for that surgery. So this morning, get comfortable in a position that suits your body. And today we will meditate on a stewardship blessing. We gather today as stewards of radical hope. We gather today as people who believe in the vision of love. We gather today as people who practice the spiritual practice of generosity. We gather today in the power and celebration of community. We gather today remembering our values, which we live out with one another. This church community inspires us to live hope-filled lives out in the wider world. This church gives us the tools we need to create a more just and equitable world for all. This church gives us the tools we need to commit to taking care of this planet. This church is a safe place for our children and youth to explore their identities, create friendships, and learn together. For me, this church is what I want the world around me to be like. For me, our UU churches are places that actually work towards saving people's lives. Today, let us commune together, give together, and celebrate with one another the seeds of radical hope that we continue to sow together here and out in our world. And now a quote from Maya Angelou. I have found that among its other benefits, giving liberates the soul of the giver. Let us live into the vision of hopeful liberation for all. Amen, and may it be so. And now I would like to introduce Dick Lesher for our stewardship moment this morning. So come on up. Thank you, Dick.
Good morning. Is the sound working properly? All right. My name is Dick Lesher, and I use the pronouns he and him. I am a member of UUCE, and I have been attending this church since 1972, 51 years. From my perspective, in all of my time here, UUCE is now the closest to what I have hoped a church could be, realizing there is always opportunity for improvement. It seems to me that we all come to church with a variety of needs and values. We have a longing for community and to connect with others in a meaningful way. We have a desire to be comforted, nurtured, renewed, and inspired. We have joys and strengths we want to share and celebrate, and we want to be of service to others. I would like to share with you what seemed to me to be some words of wisdom written by Hugh Mackey, an Australian psychologist. These 5 short sentences provide me with a dose of reality that helps balance the idealistic hopes I have for myself, for others, and for all groups and activities. 5 short sentences. Nothing is perfect. Life is messy. Relationships are complex. Outcomes are uncertain. People are irrational. Specific appreciations that I have for UUCE include church program staff and support staff, who I perceive to be very capable, caring, welcoming, and creative. I like how they value both tradition and innovation. The Sunday service, which I experienced to be welcoming, supportive, inspiring, and challenging. I appreciate the multi-generational interactions. Very strong lay leadership, which I think has been enhanced by the efforts of the Leadership Development Committee. Stable financial situation, which has been helped by many people, including the Generosity Network. And a culture that encourages respectful interactions, empathy, kindness, and collaboration. I am pleased to be able to continue to support this church in order to enhance my own well-being and that of others. Thank you.
So this morning, I'm going to start with a story. It was the summer of 2015, and I was attending my first ever Unitarian Universalist General Assembly in Portland. So I was super excited, and hope, love, justice, and solidarity were the energies I felt strongest at this General Assembly. It was an incredible and powerful feeling to be around so many other UUs. And there are lots of really cool things that happened at the General Assembly. One being that the youth of our denomination were leading the way in proposing an action of immediate witness that aligned our Unitarian Universalist movement association with the Black Lives Matter movement. And this was passed on the General Assembly floor. So that was very inspiring to be led by those youth. We also did public actions in the street with the local Black Lives Matter chapter. And Cornell West was our Ware lecturer keynote speaker, which was super awesome. And as well as in the Unitarian Universalist Service Committee dinner, John Lewis was an honored guest. Lots of amazing things happening at that General Assembly. Also, during that assembly, on June 26th, marriage equality had passed in the Supreme Court. Woo! Yes. And we'll keep fighting so it stays that way. So on the day that passed, I was super inspired by love, right? And I had a long walk to the convention center. I had to cross the river. I was staying at a hostel. And on that walk, I passed a Trader Joe's. And I went in and bought a bunch of flowers and proceeded to walk my path to the convention center, passing out the flowers, telling people love wins today and every day. So I was inspired to spread that energy of love with everyone, right? And I wanted love to multiply, just like the loaves and fishes, 10, 50 times, 100 times. I wanted to let people know that there is indeed hope in this world. I wanted to give from my heart to others. So can you think of a time when you have been overcome with love and generosity? Maybe it was an act of kindness you did for someone or a group of people. Or maybe it was an act of kindness done for you. Whether it is an act of kindness that we do or someone does for us, every one of these acts of kindness, generosity, or love overflows its original bounds. Our acts of kindness, generosity, and love multiply. So how does this multiplication happen, right? Well, physically, when someone does an act of kindness or generosity or love for us, we then maybe feel inspired to give back to that person, just like the questions I asked to the kids in the story. You know, if someone gives you a gift, do you feel inspired to give that gift back? Or when someone gives you a hug, do you want to give that hug back? So most of the time, our answer is probably yes, probably. Or, for example, when I give money to this church, I know that my money is going towards carrying out the mission and vision of this church through the programs, the staff, the affinity groups, the justice groups, the worship, youth and children's programming, and even maintaining our building, right? And so you all had a vision to have a church in Eugene, right? Yes, in Eugene, not on the hill. And that meant taking on a mortgage. So what I have seen in these 4.5 months that I've been here, that vision to be in Eugene has benefited this whole community. Your vision has paid it forward in numerous ways. Throughout the 10 years you have been in this building, your church has become a beacon of light for this community. The physical gifts of money and time you have given to this church community has had far-reaching ripple effects. So when you think about giving to this church community and being a steward, remember that this church is indeed a beacon of light in Eugene. And I know for many of you here today as well. So the Generosity Network asked some great questions in their letter to the congregation this year for this year's Stewardship Drive, and I wanted to repeat those questions because they're really good. How has our church brought more love into your life? How has this church helped you bring more love into the world? How could it do even more? So one way we just talked about was the physical way of multiplication. The next way is through inspiration. The multiplication happens through this inspiration, and we saw that in the story this morning, right? With the feeding of the 5,000. The miracle of that story was that when the kids shared their 5 loaves and 2 fishes, the rest of the crowd was inspired to do the same. So the miracle of the story was the miracle of generosity. What if we thought of generosity as a spiritual practice? How would that change our relationship with our money, time, and talents? I really like this shift, thinking of giving from the heart and generosity as a spiritual practice. To me, thinking of generosity as a spiritual practice shifts my lens on giving. I no longer feel like I'm obligated to give, but I give because it brings me joy. Knowing that my act of giving could inspire others to give brings me hope. Generosity is a practice rooted in being in communion with others. Generosity begets generosity when it is rooted in relatedness. So in the proposed Article 2 bylaw changes for the Unitarian Universalist Association, which many of you are familiar with, but some may not be quite yet, these will be voted on at this year's General Assembly in June. And the newly proposed wording of Article 2 uses our UU common values and restates those using our principles. So one of these common values that they highlight is generosity. This is what the value of generosity in the proposed bylaw change states. We cultivate a spirit of gratitude and hope. We covenant to freely and compassionately share our faith, presence, and resources. Our generosity connects us to one another in relationships of interdependence and mutuality. So I'm drawn to the first line of what generosity is rooted in, which is the cultivation of gratitude and hope. This then guides us to share our resources, presence, and faith with others. This act connects us as relational beings. And it's a great place to start when thinking about generosity as a spiritual practice, that we are connected. So let's root this practice in gratitude and hope so that we may inspire others to do the same. And another way this generosity multiplies, right, is through hope. Generosity is a radical act of hope. When we give to institutions where we get to live out our values, this is hope-filled work. When we believe in the mission and vision of this church and give from our hearts to carry out this mission and vision, this is radical hope in action. When we think about creating brave spaces for our youth and children to explore their identities, beliefs, and values, this is radical hope in action. Our church has given the gift of hope to so many people, and maybe even you right here, right now. UU churches have literally saved my life numerous times. This is hope-filled work, life-saving work that I see our churches carry out for people everywhere. Yes, we are flawed humans, yet we are a community committed to working through and learning from our mistakes. We are a community that can hold one another in our times of trauma and crisis. We are a community that honors everyone's identity. We are a community that honors everyone's path to truth and meaning. I give to this church because it stands for something other than corporate greed. It is radical to give to an institution that goes against our consumerist culture. This community is the micro community of what I envision the world can be. I chose to work in this context because I chose the call of hope. And yes, it's a choice. I have to choose it every day, and there are some days I just don't want to choose hope. Yet this community inspires me to continue choosing hope. Hope of building a world where the basics of housing, healthcare, education, food, and human rights are not only for the privileged, but for all people. Yeah, right? Yeah, that's what we're building. Hope of building the beloved community that we all strive to be a part of. I'm not looking for a perfect community, right? But because that doesn't exist. Yet I'm looking for a hope-filled community that is committed to working on transformation and restoration. So in the short time I have been here, I have seen so many acts of kindness, love, generosity, and hope-inspired work. You all inspire me. You all give me hope. You all had the vision to put Conestoga huts on your property to house the homeless, right there. You all had the vision to give out free food to people through Produce Plus and other food justice initiatives. You all have a vision to create a greener UUCE. And you all literally generously gave this building your blood, sweat, and tears. Good job. And we will celebrate that 10-year anniversary later this year. You all have the visions to continue the work of anti-racism and anti-oppression work based in love. These visions of generosity and love that you all have for your community has touched so many people's lives. And you keep visioning and are always looking for more ways to share generosity in this community. There is now a new vision for the Conestoga huts to be replaced with tiny homes. The Justice Council will be visioning new ideas through intersectional work and partnership next Sunday after church. The visions of how this community can become even more loving and generous are endless. So thank you from the bottom of my heart for what you have done and what you continue to do for this community. Thank you. Again, the Generosity Network, who are awesome, and please sign up to be a part of their network. They always need more help. They wrote in their letter to the congregation about the theme of this year's stewardship campaign, which many of you probably read, but I wanted to repeat it here because it's worth repeating. Our theme this year invites us to support our church community from the heart. The heart is where we traditionally locate the broadest, deepest, most enveloping love. We hold people in our hearts when we cannot hold them physically close. We give our hearts to our beloveds. That love is so powerful that it can change us, and it grows so strong that we can overcome the formidable barriers to a just world. As expressed by Cornel West, justice is what love looks like in public. And guess what? The size of what you give does not matter. What matters is that you give from your heart. We all are in different places in our lives and our abilities to give. We might be able to give more time than money, or vice versa. And however you choose to enter into this spiritual practice of giving from the heart, make sure it's done from a place of joy and hope. So if you can give $5 a month, great. If you can give $100 a month, great. If you can up your pledge by $5 a month, great. If you can give 5 hours of your time to plan a justice event that connects our community with partner organizations, awesome. If you can sing a song, play an instrument in worship, great. If you can draw a picture and give it to somebody in the congregation, that's a gift as well. No gift from the heart is too small. So thank you for sharing your gifts of generosity and love with me. Also, you have shared as your ministerial intern. It's an honor to collaborate with you all on this love-filled journey. So the last question I want to answer is, what if we don't see the results of our giving? So that's a constant question, right, that a lot of us have. A lot of ministry professionals, teachers, therapists, social workers, other professions working to help humans ask themselves, is this work making a difference? Then I remember this prayer that is known as the Romero Prayer. It helps now and then to step back and take a long view. The kingdom is not only beyond our efforts, it is beyond our vision. We accomplish in our lifetime only a tiny fraction of the magnificent enterprise that is God's work. Nothing we do is complete, which is a way of saying that the kingdom always lies beyond us. No statement says all that could be said. No prayer fully expresses our faith. No confession brings perfection. No pastoral visit brings wholeness. No program accomplishes the church's mission. No set of goals and objectives includes everything. This is what we are about. We plant the seeds that one day will grow. We water seeds already planted, knowing that they hold future promise. We lay foundations that will need further development. We provide yeast that produces far beyond our capabilities. We cannot do everything, and there is a sense of liberation in realizing that. This enables us to do something, and to do it very well. It may be incomplete, but it is a beginning, a step along the way, an opportunity for the Lord's grace to enter and do the rest. We may never see the end results, but that is the difference between the master builder and the worker. We are workers, not master builders, ministers, not messiahs. We are prophets of a future, not our own. And I love this prayer because we do not always see the results of our giving, but that doesn't mean the fruits aren't there. It is an act of faith and hope to give. But we have that faith when we plant our seeds that will indeed grow. The moral arc of the universe is long, but it bends towards justice, as Reverend Theodore Parker and Martin Luther King Jr. remind us. And this prayer also has similarities to the indigenous 7-generational thinking. 7-generational thinking exists in many indigenous cultures and is an ancient philosophy that teaches and encourages us to think about how the decisions we make today should result in a sustainable world 7 generations into the future. You all continue this 7-generational thinking by making your church community a multi-generational space. Prioritizing the children and youth is key. So keep doing that. Y'all are doing good. And we must plant the seeds of generosity, love, justice, and hope for the generations to come. We are prophets of a future, not our own. Let us remember that our acts of kindness, generosity, and love multiply. And in a spirit of gratitude and hope, may our generosity and love have ripple effects that transform the world. Amen, and may it be so.
Let's extinguish the chalice together as we do 456. Turn to 456 in the hymnal if you want.
We can say it together?
Yeah.
All right, we'll say our chalice extinguishing together. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry
We carry.
in our hearts until we are together again.
Let's do some benediction 402 as well.
Here, I'll say the benediction. It's all good. Thank you. And now, as we go forth today and fill out our pledge forms for this church community, let us remember that stewardship is an invitation to do new things in relationship with people in this community and beyond our walls. So generously giving of our time, talents, and treasure to this church community is a radical act of hope that has ripple effects. So we give because we are invested in the creation of a truly beloved community. So go in peace, love, and gratitude. Peace.